This is a photo of the mark of Neil Armstrong's moon boot. He was the first human to walk on the moon, but was he also the first visitor? Probably not, as I have found another mark. Finding the mark of this giant foot was not easy. In fact, it is completely hidden from eyesight, and to us humans it is invisible. First, let us take a look at the main image. As you can see, I only use images from official sources. In this case, the NASA photojournal. This is a composition picture, made by Clementine, of the south polar region of the Moon. The mark was found just above the smaller Zeeman crater. This image shows the smaller Zeeman crater with enhanced contrast and brightness. The mark, clearly visible as a combination of two letters L, literally stands out from its surroundings, as it is much brighter. The shape is interesting as we see rather straight angles, which appear unnatural. As I have already told you, the mark is not visible to us humans, as our eyes cannot see it. That is why we need the help of image forensic software, which can substantially increase and differentiate contrast levels. For this purpose I used OptiPix Auto Contrast, but we still cannot see any of the finer details inside the mark. To reveal those details we need micro-contrast software that works on pixel level. Here we see the same image, but this time I divided the area of interest in fields, and performed micro-contrast enhancement of each part. Inside the mark we see vertical, diagonal and horizontal bars, and this does not look natural, but artificial. The tracks stop outside the mark, so these bars we see are not created by the software. After a negative 2D to 3D conversion, we clearly see that this is the mark of a mechanical foot, with perfectly parallel and symmetrical running lines. Notice the size of the foot, which must be tremendous, as it is at least 4,000 meters in length, 2,000 meters wide, and the mark must be 50 meters deep. This truly is the mark of a giant. Fortunately, the camera produced images in the visual, ultraviolet, and infrared spectrum, as else I never would have noticed the difference in color on the crater floor, in the exact location where the object was standing. Most images published on the internet hardly show colors, and they all look grayish, so in order to make the colors visible, I used software to stress the various colors in the image. Here we see the untouched full-resolution image, with reference UI73S217, taken from CD volume CL4077. Pictures contain a lot more information than most people are aware of, and with an image analyzer, we can make hidden data visible. Having analyzed this picture, I noticed that it had been manipulated by software called Image Alchemy, version 1.11, but what exactly does this software do? On the website of Handmade Software Incorporated, we find a manual that explains what the software is capable of. As we can see, the software manipulates computer image files, but what makes it so special is that Image Alchemy can change the number of colors in an image and color space. Why would someone change colors in an image unless this someone does not want to reveal true colors? Clementine took images of the moon in the visual, ultraviolet and infrared spectrum. By using light reflectance and light absorption properties of material, we are able to determine composition, see abundance of water molecules, detect an alteration through heat or chemical processes, and if material corroded or eroded. This image comes from MapAPlanetExplorer.com and it shows the Zeeman crater in the visual and ultraviolet light spectrum. Everything looks gray and dull, but once we emphasize colors, the surface starts to look different. The surface inside the smaller crater has changed from gray to blue. Notice that the blue material is concentrated inside the crater and on the crater rim, but outside, there is hardly any blue material. What would this crater and the moon surface look like in infrared? The material has turned into green. Again we clearly see that the concentration of material is inside the crater. This raises questions. What is this material, and why is it located in the exact position of the smudged object? I am no industrial chemist, but to me, this looks like the result of a chemical reaction. By playing around with the wavelengths, we create more color variations. The image in the lower left corner is the result of a combination of bands 1, 5 and 3, but regardless the wavelength, the colorful material will always show up inside the crater. So this must mean something. Clementine images are unique, and uploaded to other websites, you would expect to see the same colors. However, it appears that someone does not want you to know the true colors of the material in the Zeeman crater. Let us take a look at another NASA website. Welcome to LMMP, which is a NASA website. We use the same base map, and select from the menu, the ultraviolet and visual image mosaic. Instant we see that this image is different, as there are no colors. This is a 100% grayscale image. Comparing the two images, we see a difference. What is the reason for NASA to upload a grayscale image instead of the original color version, and what is this colorful material we are not allowed to see? Perhaps in other material, we can find the answer. There are indications that suggest that Clementine's images may have been manipulated. Is the Zeeman crater hiding something? With bare eyes, the surface appears normal. This changes when we bring out more detail by sharpening edges. On the bottom of the crater, we see weird-looking objects. Are these rocks? Well, if these are rocks, then they are massive. Several hundred meters long and hundreds of meters wide, as this small crater is 22 miles in diameter, and over 2,000 meters deep. Look at the center of the image. Do you see this small chain of objects? Is this really a natural rock formation? I deliberately did not filter any compression artifacts, so you can see that these objects are not created by the software during the process of image enhancement. In the previous chapter, I showed you that the smaller crater contains material of various colors. When we take the original Clementine color image, would we not see these strange objects? Here are two images. The one on top is the original image from Clementine, and the lower image is the color-emphasized version. The blue and green colors we saw must be the weird objects, because the lunar surface around the objects has a different color, namely a light orange tone. There are people who question this observation, and who claim that these green and blue spots are color artifacts created during the processing of the film strips. Interesting theory, but when we look at the latest color image, taken by the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter, we see that my theory is confirmed. There is blue and green colored material inside the small crater. I will now reveal the alien machine, and for me, this is the most scary part, as how can I explain to you, who have never seen anything like this before, what it is? The object may seem unreal, as there is nothing like this on Earth, and there is no way to compare it with something else either. Take for instance the dimensions. The object is 57 kilometers long, 22 kilometers high and 5.5 kilometers wide. This means that it is 2 times the size of New York, and taller than any commercial airplane can fly. Can you possibly imagine what it would like when this object would be standing on Earth? The object on the original image is too small to perform enhancements on, so I had to increase the size of the object, for which I used photo zoom with the S-spline algorithm. Why did other investigators before me fail to reveal the object? The answer is very simple. In reality, there is no smudge. What we see is the result of a method of obfuscation, known as clipping, and conventional software simply will not work. Clipping is the conversion from one tone to a new gray or color tone, and by equalizing lighter and darker levels, this results in loss of detail. Details are still there, but our eyes simply can no longer see them. In our case, everything inside the clipped area turned to gray, and this looks like smudge. What remains a mystery is what software they used to perform this type of obfuscation. During the enhancement process, I noticed that the object was partially transparent and translucent, which made it more difficult to bring out details. Another problem I faced was that this was not a photo, but a composition, and the object therefore consisted of 12 film strips, with each their own brightness, contrast and gamma levels. Considering different lighting conditions, I needed to enhance each part individually. Well, ladies and gentlemen, here it is. Look at the red lines, and follow the contours. This alien machine matches the shape of the drawing. The Department of Defense already knew prior launch of the Clementine what it would look like and where they would find it. Or do you believe that they could look into the future, and knew that at the Zeeman crater, there would be a series of 12 missing data blocks that matches the shape? I know that for most of you it will be difficult to see details, so I will try to explain what I and others see. The object is three-dimensional, and the skin or hull consists of many parts or scales with different colors. The scales are flexible and extendable, which could move in every direction, so my theory is that we are dealing with a shape-shifting machine. Perhaps one of biomechanical nature, and I would describe it as a gigantic caterpillar, with multiple legs that crawls or walks over the moon's surface. As we all know, digital artifacts do not create shadows of their own. More evidence that we are dealing with something real, and not a missing data block. What you see here is the back of the machine, with a close-up of the leg. The lower part of the machine is fully flexible, and this would allow it to cross all kinds of terrain, and it even could climb mountains. Here we are halfway the machine, where the long extendable neck starts. Next to the end of the large scales, near the yellow arrow, we see these small black lines, which in my view are shadows. There are brighter parts as well, which indicates that it might reflect sunlight, or emit light itself. The machine seems to have an upper body, made of flexible scales, and a lower body, constructed of flexible bundled cables or strings. By using different levels of contrast, I managed to make other and more details visible. I will show you 4 different levels, out of the over 3,000 enhancements I made. If you did not see the machine yet, maybe these images will change that. Have you ever wondered where these weird horseshoe shadows came from? Well, here is the answer. The horseshoe appears to be a part of the machine, which casts its shadow on the moon's surface. Underneath the front of the machine, we see this odd-looking thing. In my view, this is some kind of suction unit, or a device that can spray chemicals. I will come with an explanation for this theory later in this presentation. First, let us examine the suction unit. The lower part of the unit looks square, and there is a large hole in it. In the back, there might be 2 more units. Next to the suction unit, we see two strange-looking objects, of which one appears to have multiple legs, and maybe this is my imagination, but I recognize the shape of a Scorpio. Could this be a much smaller machine, standing on the surface? Small is relative, as this little machine is almost 1 kilometer in length. Or are we watching something natural, and this is just a bunch of rocks, and our fantasy is running wild? I tried to make a better enhancement, but this is the best I could make of it. The human eye is built to pick up light intensity and colors, but with the machine in grayscale, for some of you it may not yet be visible. A color image would be the best solution, but these images do not exist, or were never made accessible, so where do we get it? There is a way to create colors in a grayscale image, by using a free software called RGB Lights. So, how does it work? First we create from one image a few new images, all equal in size, but with different scale and contrast levels. Then we load these images into the software. One image for each color. The software will join the images and create a new single RGB image. Second step is to separate colors from our RGB image through equalizing. For that special processing, I used Helicon Filter version 4.9.3, which is free software. The process is very simple, and it does not require specific skills. 1. Use the sliders to set the level of saturation. 2. Use the equalizer to select the color tones you wish to see in your image. 3. Select the spectrum sensitivity, and finally step 4 is to use the equalizer to reject the colors from the image you do not wish to see. After the gray to color conversion and the equalization process, we are left with an image with artificially created colors, and the result is unbelievable, as these samples show. Minerals and ores change color when they are exposed to chemicals. On Earth, we use a combination of acidic solutions and high electrical discharge to extract rare elements. Could this explain transient lunar phenomena, as descriptions mention lightning on the moon, vapors in all colors, smoky mist and moving glows. How else would a highly advanced, extraterrestrial civilization excavate the moon? They cannot extract minerals and metals by beaming it from the rocks. They must have technical limitations as well, despite incredible size machines. The floor of the smaller crater shows many different colors, and perhaps we see the result of chemical processing. Colors of the moon's surface vary, and from Clementine we know that regolith, in and around the Zeeman crater, has a light orange tone. I did some RGB experiments, and managed to find this specific color, in combination with the copper color machine. So is this the original color? After the color conversion, we see right below the machine a few small light blue areas. Do these areas contain fluids? Are we witnessing the excavation of the moon? We know that during chemical extraction, materials change color, and gases are formed. Underneath the machine, the area looks foggy. Is that because of chemical vapor? In the Clementine song, the number 9 written on asteroid Geographos refers to the size of Clementine's shoes. And her shoes were number 9. Shoe size on an asteroid? Shoe size has nothing to do with it. The pound or hash sign, usually attached to a keyword or phrase, identifies a message on a particular topic. In China, the number 9 is connected with Chinese dragons. Chinese dragons are described in terms of 9 attributes. Their skin is covered with 117 scales, 13 times 9, of which 81, 9 times 9, are yang, positive, and 36, 4 times 9, are yin, negative, or reversed. The number 9 is connected with Chinese dragons? That is interesting, but so is this. Look at the sketch that we found on the logo. Does that look familiar? No? Then you probably are not Chinese, as the shape of this object comes back in Chinese characters. After we rotated the image, we see that the Chinese characters pretty much look like the sketch. Especially the Chinese dragon seal, which even has the 2 holes in it. Here we see one of the earliest painted dragons, created in the year 1244 AD. This is one dragon of a total of 9, taken from a hand scroll, called the 9 Dragons, which is now located at the Museum of Fine Art, in Boston, USA. Imagine this. You live in an era without advanced technology. Suddenly you see something incredible, but you have never seen anything like this before, and do not know how to describe it. What do? You start looking around you for objects you know, and you use multiple objects in combination to make a thorough description. My theory is that the Chinese, and other nations as well, saw smaller types of these alien machines on Earth. They archive these events, describing them in stories, making sketches, paintings, and even portray them on shields, banners and flags. Or does this sound strange? How would the ancient Chinese portray a dragon? My theory is that they used specific animal parts to describe it. A Chinese dragon has 9 anatomical features: the head of a camel or horse, the ears like a cow, the fiery eyes of a demon, the horns of a deer or stag, a long neck like a serpent, the scales of a carp, the belly of a frog, the paws of a tiger with 3 or 5 toes, the claws of an eagle with 3 or 5 nails. Also mentioned in ancient descriptions, the dragon has a long beard, spines on the back, a foot rule, which is a large device on the head, and stretched or folded wings. According to Chinese legends, the first dragon ever seen, appeared in the sky, around 4000 BC. So is the alien machine, a Chinese dragon, and does it have the same anatomical features? Did you expect this? This machine has remarkable similarities with the list of animals the Chinese used to portray a dragon, but why should a dragon be of golden or copper color? Looking at the animals and the colors of the animal parts, we see something remarkable. The head of a camel is brown or light orange, the horns of deer white and brown, the fiery eyes of a demon are yellow or orange like fire. The colors of a tiger's paw are yellow, copper and orange, eagle claws are mostly brown and yellow, the belly of a frog is described as white, brown or yellow, and the scales of a carp often look brown, copper or golden. This indeed looks like the colors in our machine. We now have seen that the alien machine has some of the anatomical features of a Chinese dragon. But is there more that substantiates my alien dragon theory? As a matter of fact, there is. Take a look at this image for example. Dragons had an almost unlimited range of supernatural powers. They could shapeshift, change their color, as an effective form of camouflage, or they could glow in the dark. The colors of Chinese dragons vary, but most dragons vary from greenish to golden. They have a series of alternating short and long spines extending down their backs, and along their tails, where they become longer. The dragon has long tendril-like whiskers, extending from either side of its mouth, which it uses for feeling its way along the bottom of muddy ponds. Under its chin or floating just out of reach, the dragon has a bright shining pearl, and on the head a device, which is called the pole shan, or foot rule. Without this, the dragon cannot fly. The scales of the dragon's throat are reversed, and when a dragon exhales, it produces clouds of fire or rain. The dragon's breath changes into clouds, comes out as fire or rain. Is fire to be interpreted as lightning, or in other words, an electrical discharge, and rain to be seen as the spraying of fluids? Here's another myth. Where dragon blood is spilt, and has been spilt in the distant past, no vegetation will grow. Could this be a reference to environmental pollution? That dragons used chemicals on soil and polluted the earth? When the Chinese would see this alien machine flying through the heavens, lit by sunlight, what would it look like? Perhaps like a dragon on fire, and is that why dragons spit fire? Many ancient Chinese drawings show flames coming from the dragon's feet. Underneath the machine and on the moon's surface, we see tentacle-like objects. In the painting we recognize the two long antennae or whiskers, and we see those as well in our alien object, so we found two more similarities. I already showed you a strange print near the Zeeman crater. This looked like the print of a boot, or the foot of a machine. What I have not shown you is a further enhancement of this print. To reveal the footprint of the dragon, I used software called BAS Relief. We have found all important anatomical and additional features of the dragon, except one, the bright shining pearl. As I mentioned before, the obfuscation technique they used did not allow complete exposure of the machine all at once. With each level of contrast, new details became visible while others disappeared. After I took two color images and merged them, the bright pearl became visible, but not just the pearl. I admit that it does not 100% look like a pearl, but it is located exactly under the chin, as in the dragon description, and you can clearly see that it is much brighter than its surroundings, as it literally shines. Here is the process made visible. Two images merged together, with a software called 2PIC. This is the merged image. The pearl is shining very bright, and clearly visible underneath the dragon's head. Can you see it? Besides the pearl, something else, and also an interesting part of the machine, became visible. A second leg on the left side of the machine. One that is not standing on the moon's surface, but appears to be lifted. So was the dragon in motion while it was photographed by Clementine. This is what I consider as the back of the machine, and it looks like the leg, indeed, does not touch the moon's surface. Two other very interesting parts of the dragon are the pole shan, or foot rule on top of the head, and the extendable neck, with the scales running in two directions. The ones on the throat are reversed, and go from left to right. I wish I could have revealed more, but the machine appears to be partially transparent, and translucent, and that makes it for me very difficult to bring out more details. Is there anyone who could confirm the existence of alien technology on the moon? Yes, people who have said to testify for the United States Congress, as part of the UFO Disclosure Project. Unfortunately, the Paradigm Research Group was not interested in my research, and did not care about my findings, so I hope that someone, one day, will come forward, and confirm the Clementine cover-up, and the existence of these alien dragons. Project Golden Dragon started back in 1998, and I had no idea of the incredible things I would discover. You have just seen a very small part of my research, and I hope that it has opened your eyes. We are not alone in the universe. Dragons visited us in the past, possibly looking for material to excavate. They left Earth, as perhaps they did not find what they were searching for, or the dragons did not want to further endanger life on this planet. Fact is that the presence of dragons was documented by the Chinese, and many other nations. To science, dragons never existed, as we never found bones or other pieces of evidence, and therefore we have never paid real attention to the possibility that dragons really exist. In my view, we should reconsider our way of thinking regarding ancient aliens, as perhaps some of the weird creatures we see in statues, in drawings, and have read about in historical documents, are not just inventions. Earth is no longer of interest to dragons, as else we would have seen them walking around. They appear to be non-hostile, so have we made contact? Was contact denied? Have they warned us not to interfere with their activities on the moon? It is time that we get full disclosure from our government, as I do not believe that they are not aware of the presence of dragons in our solar system.